These are my top 7 botany techniques that I know of that deal with plants, fungi, and algae. Number 7. Microscopy. A very common biology technique that seems easy but can be very challenging depending on the type of specimen that you are working with. To prepare this Cunningham attenuata fungus, I first disinfect my equipment with a Bunsen baby burner, followed by 90% ethanol. Add 3% potassium hydroxide to the sample and 1% phenoxine to stain it blood red. Cover slip it, squish it, and then clean up the evidence. With microscopy, we can visualize the single spored sporangials. I repeat this exact same procedure with the species Electrophoresis. As part of my recent video, I prepared this entomorphic Uva flexulosa. 2 to 3 drops of 5% HCl will decalcify algae and will produce bubbles upon exposure. However, Uva isn't calcified, thus doesn't need the HCl. Rest for 3 minutes, absorb the excess liquid, and add 1 to 2 drops of 1% aniline blue to stain. Rest and absorb again. Mince, and finally add 25% Clero to make a permanent slide and squish. 50% Clero can be added a few days later. The whole mount alga on the right side was easy peasy, but this ring-like cross-section wasn't so lemon squeezy, because it took me 2 days of painful mincing. Clero can make the slide sticky. A bit of Kim wipe and sanitizer cleans it. Number 6. Dichotomous Keying. Believe it or not, this technique can be challenging for some people. We blame the weird jargon and unfamiliar vocab. The process is simple. Pick the right description and follow the next number. Correct identification requires 100% accuracy, so you better get it right. Number 5. Seed Extraction. I used this technique aplenty when I was working at the Seed Conservatory, and it's kid-friendly easy. There are 2 types of seed extraction, sifting and water processing. Sifting specimens is like playing at the beach. Sifting dried specimens through different sized meshes separates seeds from most debris. We can think of water processing like playing with the toilet. We squish the fruit and then create a whirlpool. The whirlpool will separate the seeds from the flesh. The lab dropper will make the collections more efficient. Drying the seeds on a coffee filter and funnel produces better results. Number 4. Digitizing. Imaging specimens is pretty simple. After dusting down our specimen, we put it into the imaging box and make sure that our specimen, ruler, and color code is aligned and visible. From here, I'll do some photoshopping and editing like color corrections and cropping to make it fabulous. Once finished, I barcode it up and stamp its approval. Number 3. Dried mushrooms and spore extraction. It's very easy. You can sun-dry mushrooms for 3 to 5 days. However, it rains pretty frequently and I don't want to attract the buggos. Thus, a drying cabinet will be needed. Preparations might go like this: newspaper, mushroom, blank paper, newspaper. It's worth noting that herbaria process and some ink caps will ruin the mushroom morphology. But if you're going to process ink caps, I suggest using wax paper and extra newspaper in case of leakage. Spore extraction involves laying the mushroom face down on a blank paper. After a day or 2 of neglect, spores will be isolated from the mushroom. Many fungi species can only be identified with spores via color and microscopy. I don't think there's a standardized way, but I'm going to origami a blank paper into a mushroom packet. I first make a trifold, then I make folds along the edges. I cut 2 slits along the indents so that we create flaps, and a bit of glue will hold down the flaps. Ta-da! We have our mushroom packet, and I like to put my herbaria labels on the ugly side. These techniques can be applied to slime molds as well. For example, I'm going to be processing a fluigel that I dried yesterday. I wrap my specimens in Kim wipes and put it into the mushroom packet along with the spore paper. Once finished, freeze it to kill its viability. Number 2. Pigment Extraction. Sodium sulfate plug, column chromatography, and TLC. This technique is difficult. This is my really old cringy video on separating chlorophyll and carotenoid pigments from spinach leaves. I chilled some acetone and heated up water. My ring stand has my sodium sulfate plug, which is a cotton pack passed through pipette, followed by 1 centimeter of anhydrous sodium sulfate. This plug dries out the extract and ensures remaining water does not pass through. 1.5 grams of shredded spinach leaves and an occasional 2 milliliters of acetone are processed through the motor and pestle. These the plant cells will expose and dissolve the pigments in the acetone. Just like my soul, we work in the dark to reduce pigment oxidation. Work efficiently because acetone boils at 56 degrees Celsius. Centrifuge the extract for 3 minutes. Transfer the supernatant into a new centrifuge tube. The top dark green supernatant is the organic layer where the pigments are dissolved in the acetone. Discard the bottom layer and remaining solids because they have no meaning in life. 2 milliliters of hexane and 2 milliliters of water are added to the centrifuge tube. Vortex mix it to break the emulsions and centrifuge for a minute to prevent further emulsions. From here, the top organic layer is the extract where non-polar pigments are dissolved in the hexane. The bottom aqueous layer of acetone dissolved in water can be discarded with a pasture pipette because it too has no purpose. Pipette the extract into the plug. Once the extract is separated, add half a milliliter of hexane to the column to extract all the pigments from the drying agent. The extract test tube goes into the water bath and evaporates to complete dryness. We want to evaporate the hexane and acetone because the extract is too dilute. My chromatography column is a cotton pack pressure pipette. Add 5 cm of alumina and level it out. Add 2 to 3 milliliters of sand to protect the alumina from divoting. Wet the column sides with hexane and ensure that the column remains moist. Use hexane to initiate the elution process. Add half a milliliter of hexane to redissolve the dried extract test tube. Slowly add half the redissolved extract to the column by inserting the pipette tip down the column. Add 4 milliliters of hexane and wait till the green color penetrates the alumina before adding more. The top reservoir shouldn't be green, and if it is, well, I can't help you there, buddy. The column will produce a yellow non-polar beta-carotene band. This is why we use non-polar hexane with polar alumina. Anything polar will stay up top, and non-polar will travel down the column. Occasionally increase the solvent's polarity. Eventually use 70% hexane with 30% acetone, then just acetone, then 80% acetone with 20% methanol. Gradually move to the 80-20 because we still need the green polar chlorophyll band. Overall, the yellow band drops first, then the green band. Use a latex bulb to push the bands using pressure. Evaporate the solvents. Concentrate the solvents with 2 drops of hexane. For thin layer chromatography, spot the TLC silica plates, wait for it to dry, and respot it to get a dark spot. We're biased against big spots because cross-contamination. To a jar, add the 70-30 an inch from the bottom along with filter paper and let it saturate. Put the plates in the jar and ensure that the sides don't touch the filter paper. Remove the plates once the solvent front is 1 cm below the top of the plates. RF values can be calculated by dividing the distance that each spot traveled by the distance that the solvent line traveled. As visualized, the yellow carotene traveled the most, and the green polar chlorophyll traveled the least. It's worth mentioning that the silica plates are polar. The super ugly gray spots are phaeophytene and xanthophyll. Number 1. Herbaria pressing and mounting. These projects can take days, if not weeks. Additionally, plant presses are a bit different from alga presses. Plant pressing begins with collection using a pruning pole or shears. We want specimens that best represent a species' morphological traits. Data monitoring and filling out our field notebook will be used to write our labels. Our field notebook will have information on location, elevation, habitat, life crown ratio, crown spread, notable observations, and most importantly, height matters. Plant pressing is layered with cardboard, blotting paper, newspaper, plant, newspaper, blotting paper, and then cardboard. Additional cardboard or blotting paper may be needed for thicker specimens. Not only is toilet paper good for emotional support, but it can help deal with laxative plants like those of the Botanists family. When we press, we want the top and bottom sides of the leaves to be visible and spread out. We subway sandwich this pressing using a wooden pressing kit, tighten it down, and put into the dry cabinet upright for 1 to 2 weeks. Pressing loosens every couple of days and requires regular tightening. If mold grows, increase ventilation like a fan. If you don't have a pressing kit, you can use a heavy book instead. For specimens that can't be pressed like large fruits, we paper bag them up and into the drying cabinet. Algae pressing begins with collection. Because I don't have watercolor paper, I'll use mounting paper instead. I'll show you this method that I'm using and then briefly explain the other method. I will dry the alga on wax paper and then put it into the drying cabinet to speed up the drying process, but be cautious not to leave the alga too long in the drying cabinet or it might shrivel. Some algae will clump when exposed to air. For this spreading technique, I'll get some wax paper and slide it under the algae while being submerged. Keep your hand flat and lift out of the water. From here, I'll dry it. To press algae, I might layer it like this: cardboard, blotting paper, newspaper, wax paper, dried alga, mounting paper, newspaper, blotting paper, and then cardboard. If you have watercolor paper, you can skip the initial drying process and simply layer it like this. However, you do have to aerate your specimen every couple of days to prevent mold. After making your vegan sandwich, use a pressing kit or wait. After pressing your plant or alga specimen, we mount it. Orient and glue down your specimen, label, and fragment packet. Gummed linen tape can be used to anchor down your specimen. Labels will look something like this. Lost fragments are put into the packet and glued down. I'll be working on multiple specimens, so I'll layer it like this to conserve table space. Then press kit or wait. After drying, freeze it for a week to kill pests like cigarette beetles. Last but not least, our frozen vegetables are ready for digitizing and accessioning.